Do you keep on pushing forward harder and harder, only to find yourself stuck, stagnant, or not making progress? Well, today's video, we'll talk about that and more, and how to move forward. See, progress isn't always about strength. It's not always about pushing forward and enduring through. It's about knowing when to stop, take a rest, take a break, and give yourself grace. And one of the biggest things we can use grace for is when to pick ourselves back up. After divorce, picking ourselves back up is critical. We have to be mindful of the fact that we're grieving. We're grieving the loss of a relationship. We're grieving the loss of family, friends, wealth, and even our health. Most of that's been suffering, all during this unhealthy time. Whether it was the relationship, our individual choices, or the product of life that we found ourselves in. We are grieving that process. We have to let go. We have to figure out what part of us needs to die for us to move forward. Now, we can often look at that as an unhealthy, unfavorable, hard time in our lives, right? Like, what has to die for us to move forward? That's an aggressive statement. But if we actually take a bigger perspective or lens on that situation, that comment, we can see that to change, we have to leave things behind. We have to move forward in a different direction. And to move forward in a different direction requires a lot of strength, courage, commitment, and grace. Most importantly, grace. Because along this journey, you're gonna fail. You could see your divorce as a failure right now. And to get up from failure, to move forward from failure, yes, we need to be strong, especially as men. What we need the most is grace. Because on those days that we're not going to the gym, that we don't want to move forward, that we're taking the responsibility and blame for it all, we need to give ourselves some grace. Because at the end of the day, we're all human. And that's a really important trait that we often don't acknowledge. We see everything has to be under control. Everything has to be just right. Everything has to be as planned. And for many of us, when it doesn't go as planned, we're not sure what to do with ourselves. Part of the work that we do here on this channel is building us back up, rebuilding us to a point where you can be uncomfortable. Christian, you can be comfortable being uncomfortable. So without a plan, you can move forward. Or when things change, you can be flexible. And part of the secret to all that is making sure you step on the right rocks, and also giving yourself grace when you slip off and you fall. Because you're gonna need the ability to let go of those failures. They're inevitably gonna happen for you to move forward, for you to get up that hill, to cross that stream, and to move forward with the path of your life. So, grace, what is it? What does it mean? How do we find it? And most importantly, how do we use it? Grace is our ability to accept the reality of our situation. It's our ability to recognize who we are and where we are. And more importantly, look back at our past and say, this is how it always has been. One important way that we can look back on our past and see grace and determination and strength is when we started to walk. And we can see this process if you're around children and all have had the joy and pleasure of seeing that. I personally have watched cousins, family members' kids, and friends' kids grow. And there's a beautiful phase in life when they go from children that are swallowed, so to speak, swaddled, swaddled in a blanket and held, to moving, right? Moving their hands. Often they have to get gloves so they don't scratch their faces, right? So there's that phase. And then it goes into maybe rolling over, etc., until they move to a place where they're crawling. They're actually moving through life in a different capacity. Well, all that took variations. You could even see it in the crawling, right? And think about the grace that baby is giving themselves. Every time they go to place their hand down, it slips out underneath them and they fall flat on their face. It's the same thing that happens to us in divorce. It's also the same thing that happens when that baby starts to stand up for the first time. It wobbles, it falls over, it needs something to help them hold on to, maybe a dad or mom's hand, or even the couch. And that same thing then again happens from a walking perspective. When they take their first step, I have never heard of a baby that sprints their first step. I've heard of and seen first steps before that are uncertain, that are wavering, that are teetering, but I've never seen first steps that are perfection. So grace is the same process that a child is learning in movement, from moving their hands for the first time and scratching their face uncontrollably, unawarely, to crawling on the ground and falling on their face, to standing up and falling down, to taking those first steps and wobbling around while doing so. Like, it's a beautiful process, and that process of movement is the same process that we're going to experience in divorce. We have fallen down. Now, whether that's we have scratched our faces, or we've biffed our faces while trying to crawl, or have fallen while trying to stand or take those first steps, there's a grace in that process. There's understanding the bigger picture here, right? Zooming out and seeing that we are in divorce. It is probably painful. It is probably uncomfortable. I don't know many people that have gone through the divorce process and then go like, yeah, man, you need to get some divorce in your life. I have yet to hear that once. And if you have heard that, I would love to know more. So leave a comment down below. Also, if you're in that place, we created a 7-day mini course. It's a low barrier price to enter, like $11 low. And it will teach you the foundations to get back up, to give yourself grace in that progress, right? So in the process of recovery, we can find ourselves in dark places. Maybe you're leaning on vices. Maybe you're not sure which way to go. Take this 7-day course. It's a small $11 commitment, a small investment to restart yourself, to give yourself direction, clarity, hope, and grace. Check that out more in the links below, but let me know what you think about it as well in the comments. Getting back to grace. Grace is a powerful thing. It's about knowing how to move forward with those setbacks instead of being defined by them. It's building yourself up instead of tearing yourself down. It's moving forward instead of staying stuck. So grace isn't about wisdom. It's not about weakness, it's about wisdom. And that's the amazing thing here. It's about the wisdom of knowing the process of movement. It's about the wisdom of knowing the process of growth. It is not about perfection. It's not about getting it right the first time. It's about the iteration, the continued process of learning and moving forward. So grace is not about weakness at all. It's the strength to accept where you are and still move forward. And if you're in divorce, brother, it sucks. If you lost your family, you've lost some friends, you may have lost the house, some finances, I feel you. But this is only a moment in time. This is like falling down when learning how to walk. We will pick ourselves up. This channel is here to help and support you for that, and we will move forward accordingly. Grace is also about wisdom to keep going when things get hard. It's about seeing the big picture. It's about knowing that pain is growth. Now, pain in some regards is growth. There's pain that's actually damaging your body, right? That could be like a broken leg. And then there's the pain you're causing yourself. That may be because you're drinking too much through divorce. And then there's the pain of going to the gym and working out and your muscles are sore. These are all different levels of pain. We have to be aware of them. But grace is about that wisdom to keep going, keep moving forward when things are hard. It's also about the power to begin again without beating yourself up. It's knowing this is how we learn, this is how we move forward, this is how we grow. That's important. Finally, it's the ability to be kind to yourself while staying committed to that growth. So grace is one of the most powerful things we can do and impart and have when we're going through divorce. Don't think about perfection, making sure everything is right. Or, we can also, often the men I work with look at it as a loss of the perfect opportunity. She was the perfect woman. This was the perfect family. Well, if you actually look deeper, it probably wasn't. There's a reason why. Here's a big part of it. The big reason was because it was you. Because you weren't leading yourself. You didn't have grace. And it's important during divorce that we understand this aspect of grace. I won't beat the dead horse here anymore with that. We got to be aware of this when we slide into old habits, when we feel overwhelmed, and we got to change course or direction in the process. Grace can help us through. So here are 3 quick ways on how to move forward during divorce with grace. You got to, 1, know when to ease up. Some days you're going to crush every goal here, and other days you're going to need grace to turn it around. There's going to be sad days like anniversaries, birthdays, moments where you used to spend and have joy aren't going to exist anymore. That's when you need grace. Number 2, you got to master the graceful comeback. This is a powerful one. This is where no matter if you missed the gym yesterday, you get back in there today. It's not about always doubling it up, trying to catch back up. It's just sometimes realizing this is where we are today. We're going to get more sleep. We're going to plan accordingly. We're going to set an alarm. We're going to create a process to make sure this doesn't happen again. And lastly, we got to track and celebrate progress, right? So the grace that we're using every day, we got to track it. Part of grace is also a celebration of what we've accomplished, right? And not being overly, well, it's kind of being humble about what we've accomplished as well. Grace is an interesting thing. Grace with yourself, grace with others, grace with the world that we interact with. Because grace and growth, they go hand in hand. And every step forward counts. That even if we have those moments of plateauing or pausing, we got to give ourselves grace and get back on the trail. No matter how small or how big, when we're trying to rebuild ourselves up, instead of tearing ourselves down, grace is the most important aspect. The results speak for themselves here. How are you giving yourself grace in this process? Love to know more, and here down below, if you're in a place that you need some grace, check out the 7-day challenge course that will teach you about grace, teach you how to move forward accordingly, and help you get back on that track of rebuilding.